Hello everyone and welcome to WGBS TV Live, brought to you by SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. My name is Steve Eunice. In this, our June 18th, 2019 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including Brendan Fraser talking about his audition for Superman. We're going to be talking Krypton, Supergirl complete 4th season. We're going to be talking about the comic book side of things, solicitations, and so much more. We've got a lot to get through tonight. And we'll also be turning to you to take your questions and comments on any particular Superman topic you would like to discuss. And to let you know how all that works and how you can get involved in tonight's show, let me introduce you to the man waiting patiently beside me, but on the other side of the world, Mr. Michael Bailey. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Steve. I'm barely awake today. I was up at 4:30. I got 3 hours of sleep. I went to work. It's fun. Woo!
Yay!
So I'm going to fake it till I make it today. Now, since nobody cares about that. Since WGBS Live is all about Superman, we want to hear from Superman fans around the world that are watching us on YouTube. So around the halfway mark of the show, and if we don't have too much on the docket, which tonight we actually do, which is mostly comic book related, which is always a surprise, we will start taking your calls. To do this, you'll need Skype. Get on Skype, find Superman homepage, and message us that you'd like to join the show. A couple of important things there. Message us. Don't just call, because that would screw things up. Also, if you have external speakers playing, we are on a delay, so if we do take your call, please turn those down. But the most direct way to talk to us is in the YouTube comments, which are always lively, and I'm sure at some point Vankman or Vankman is going to do the after these message we'll be right back thing when we go to break.
And yes, if you are watching this live via YouTube, we invite you to join in and chat with other watchers as we go on. Post your comments, ask questions, and Michael and I will keep an eye on those throughout the show as we go along. And a huge thank you to our sponsor and patron, Douglas Meacham. We appreciate your support. Well, as you can see, Michael, I've just decided to stay home today to do this show. I haven't travelled anywhere around the world. No exotic location, just my home office where it's just a little bit warmer today.
I just figured you had blown through your frequent flyer miles, and that now you just, that jet that the Superman homepage owns that we're not really supposed to talk about does require a lot of upkeep, so I'm not surprised.
Well, it has been a pretty busy week with Superman stuff, which is a change because we kind of get a little bit quiet when there's no movie news or TV news on the horizon for Superman. But we do have peripheral things with Krypton and Supergirl and Titans and whatever else is going on, and the comic books, which is a big side of what we'll be talking about tonight. But we'd like to start with movie news, and Brendan Fraser was interviewed by Yahoo Entertainment this past week and spoke about the time that he auditioned for the J.J. Abrams script Superman Flyby. We have a little bit of what he had to say in a clip, which I will play for you right now.
I have to talk about another classic DC suit you've worn. You auditioned to play Superman, and you put on the Superman suit at one point for a J.J. Abrams version of that.
I got that stripe. I did it.
What was that experience like wearing?
Very cool.
Yeah,
very cool. I mean, I don't know all the versions of the different suits, but it was like the script was printed on, no kidding, like crimson paper with black ink, so it couldn't be photocopied. You had to sign it in and out. I was allowed to sit in an office and read it for an hour. It was like a covert operation, shooting, a scene on a studio lot at Warner Brothers. Everyone in town.
So there you have it. That was a little bit of what he spoke about, wearing the Superman costume, reading the script in a room. It was printed on crimson paper, so it was really top secret. Why crimson paper? Because we can't photocopy crimson paper. If you try to put it under a photocopier, it just comes out black. So, interesting to hear him talking about it and how top secret it was. And then the script's now online. You can read it on the Superman homepage. It's available. It's not so top secret anymore.
Yeah, reminds me of when I was working in the various copy centers that I've worked in. People would bring in a red original because they had designed like some Christmas thing, and I'm like, it's not gonna work. I'm just telling you right now. No, it's interesting. It fascinates me that in the absence of really talking about anything else, media outlets will keep asking the same questions over and over and over again. But that's kind of how these shows work. I'm sure there's a producer that contacted either Brendan or Brendan's people ahead of time, and they kind of worked out what they were going to talk about so that the show goes a little smoother. Like, guys, you don't understand. Steve has to prep me for an hour before we do this thing because I am a complete mess. But no, it's just. But the fact that he's now doing a DC property, I think at that point it's okay to ask about it. I'm kind of fascinated, and the more he keeps talking about it, the more interested I'm getting. And maybe we should do some crowdsource, like some kind of documentary about all of the Superman scripts between, Tim Burton's project dying and when we finally get to Superman Returns, because there was a lot of stuff going on in there. I mean, I was writing reviews for the homepage at the time, but at the same time, I was also an avid reader of the site, and it seemed like every day there would be some kind of little bit of rumor here and there, and it would just keep you going and keep you going, and finally the script gets leaked, and it was terrible. Just warning everybody who goes to the Superman homepage to read the script. So maybe it'd be kind of interesting to look into that to see how we got to Superman Returns, because the road to Superman Returns to Man of Steel isn't as rocky, I think.
And now John in the comments is asking if this was before he did George of the Jungle, which was in '97. No, this was around year 2002 when J.J. Abrams had written the script. So it was after, which I guess is why he was given the role, because in that he was very buff. He's very, very much of an action movie, and so he was also doing was it The Mummy at the time? So
the 3 Mummy films, which a lot of people bag on now. Those were actually, I remember my wife and I would see all 3 of those in the theater, just because we enjoyed it so much. It's interesting that he was a really charismatic actor.
Yeah.
That had a pretty good career, and then he just for various reasons, which we don't have time, nor is it's kind of a depressing story. Not to get into here, but I remember him being bandied about for Superman, and I never saw it. I really he could physically pull it off, but he just doesn't look like the character to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think he necessarily fit the role at all, but look, 1977, 78, when they were doing Superman the movie, they went through every man and his dog to try to find the right guy for the role. So, it's no surprise that a similar type of situation happened back in the time when they were trying to cast this movie. And when it never happened, it is interesting to hear him say that, putting on the costume made him feel invincible, that having a cape actually makes you think you have the power of flight, even though you don't. So it's really interesting to hear different actors talking about when they put on the costume. Even Melissa Benoist's talking about the Supergirl costume. Just how wearing the costume makes you feel a certain way and gives you the sense of feeling like you're embodying the character. I have heard some people say that they felt silly putting on the costume, wearing tights or whatever. But I think that's more of a insecurity of your own kind of body shape or whatever. But if you're happy with the way you look, putting on that Superman costume, and if you're kind of confident type of person, I can imagine it would make you feel really empowered.
Yeah, I mean, and most of these Hollywood guys are in pretty decent shape. So I'm kind of curious. We've seen the pictures of both Brandon Routh and Henry Cavill in the Flyby outfit. I'm wondering if they're ever going to kind of leak or release the ones of like Brendan Fraser, or because they were talking to like Paul Walker, or the late Paul Walker, I guess I should say. They were talking about Josh Hartnett, which That would have been the most distracted-looking Superman ever. And he couldn't have done it because he would have had to comb his hair, which he seemed physically incapable of doing in the early 2000s. So it's just. But you're right. I'm sure like every male that was in good shape, that was of a particular like height, was considered for the role.
Indeed.
And eventually it went to Brandon Routh, who I think a lot of us can agree got robbed. So.
Yeah, in many ways I would not disagree with that, and that was what ended up happening. They ended up ditching the whole idea of Superman Flyby, Superman Lives, and then ended up going with Bryan Singer's Superman Returns in 2006. So interesting to look at that period, and I remember covering it all for the Superman homepage at the time. And as you say, every second day there was just some little bit of a tidbit of information about these proposed films. So it was a long wait between Superman 4 and what ended up being Superman Returns. There was a long period of time where we were just all debating what would happen and what might be happening and what was rumored to be happening.
Absolutely. Good times. Good times.
All right, so we move on to the TV side of things, and I know you haven't seen the first episode of Season 2 of Krypton as yet, but Michael J. Petty, our reviewer at the Superman homepage, returned for this new season and gave this episode a 4 out of 5, saying, I have to be completely honest, as into the series as I got last summer, the year off kind of threw me off. So I was excited for the show to come back, to see General Zod's new Krypton, Seg's fate in the Phantom Zone, and so much more. But sitting down to watch the premiere didn't feel necessary. Boy, was I wrong. And I have to agree with him. I was like, it feels like a long time since Krypton Season 1 ended. And getting into Season 2, I was just like, oh, where were we? What kind of happened? I needed a kind of a recap. And they did a really good job of setting up this first episode of Season 2. There was a lot in there, a lot to unpack, and a lot of dialogue, and a lot of characters to be juggling at this time, but I felt like they did a really good job of it, and everything's just kind of picked up where they left off. The effects are still great, the actors are still fantastic, there's a lot of little kind of in-jokes in there that you might pick up on, and I really enjoyed this first episode. I think you will too, Michael.
I am. It's interesting to see people who are not familiar with the comics or as familiar with the comics like react to Lobo. Because I saw one of the jokes I saw was that Lobo is what happens when a Korn song comes to life, and I'm just like, do you guys just not know who this character is? It seems like from all the previews I've seen that he is pretty comic book accurate in both look and the way he carries himself. So I'm just kind of fascinated by that.
Now, in the comments, John is asking, what does General Zod want with Doomsday in the first place? Well, the reasoning behind what Zod wants is that he wants to start taking over other planets, or, start expanding Krypton's legacy, if you like. And so, where in Man of Steel they had that machine that would terraform a planet, the Black Zero or whatever it was. Here they want to drop Doomsday in on any kind of civilization and let him run rampant, wipe them all out, and then he'll be able to go in and make that planet his own. So that's where Doomsday comes in.
Yeah, I really want to make a "Make Krypton Great Again" joke, but I'm not going to. That's a terrible plan, by the way. That is an awful plan. Like that's like saying, we're going to conquer this planet. I'm going to nuke it from orbit and fill the planet with deadly radiation. And in about 100 years, we can come back and settle here. Really? Okay, whatever. You're the general. Everyone's got to kneel before you.
That's right. And there's some interesting elements in this. I don't think Brainiac is finished. There was a scene in there which was pretty gruesome. I don't think Brainiac is done for just yet. And it was interesting when Adam appeared in this episode with Seg. They had the reunion there. There's a lot of comments online about the fact that Adam Strange has this new red jacket and where did he get it from? And it's funny because the first time that Seg and Adam see each other, Seg says to him, "Oh, I like your new red jacket," and it's just like, what? I don't know. It's just kind of it's like they know people are going to point it out, so but we'll just run with the joke.
Yeah, I think sometimes you just lean into those skids and just kind of ride it out because they're obviously behind the scenes they just changed his costume. It's as simple as that. And
what I really liked about this episode was the special effects, and you've seen it in the scene that we've already showed last week. The way they play off the Phantom Zone and how disconnected you feel when you're in there, and there's so many. Like it's almost like you're in a bit of a time flux. There's different parts of you moving in different ways that it almost seems like it's nowhere and everywhere at the same time.
Yeah, it looks again, for being a cable show, the show looks amazing, and they really don't scrimp on the computer generated effects most of the time.
Indeed. So season 2 is underway, and we have the promo for the second episode, which is titled Ghost in the Fire, and this one sees more of Lobo, who appeared towards the end of this episode, episode 1 of season 2. So let's check out the promo for the second episode, Ghost in the Fire.
You're in the presence of the main man, Scourge of the Cosmos. None of this is ringing a bell.
Welcome to General Zod's Candor.
I'm coming to get my son back.
Embrace the future.
That bastard has stolen our better tomorrow. We're stealing it back!
The resistance will be shattered.
Expect a swift response.
Lighter can still be saved.
Brainiac is in you. We should probably keep moving.
Ready to get back to Krypton? So long, bitch. Did you just say Craptown? I'd watch this shit out of Craptown.
So there you have it. Interesting that they're using flipping the bird in this episode.
Well, it's cable. They can get away with stuff like that.
Yeah, they can. And Tina's asking what planet was Seg and Adam on and Lobo on in this first episode. It was Kolu, Brainiac's original planet, where he came from. It used to be a technological marvel, and then he wiped it all out, and then hundreds of thousands of years have passed, I guess, and nature has regrown over everything. So that was the planet they were on.
Aren't they filming? Are they filming? They're filming in Vancouver, right?
Yes.
So it's where a lot of these shows take place, the planet Vancouver,
as opposed to Houston.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
So that's Ghost in the Fire, the second episode of season 2 of Krypton, and we look forward to that, which it airs Wednesday night there at 10 p.m. and Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. here in Australia, depending on where you are. And speaking of Krypton, there is going to be a spin-off series about Lobo that has been announced. They've already announced that Sci-Fi will be picking up and running with a Lobo TV series by the same showrunner, Cam Welsh. Your thoughts?
I'm not surprised. And there's just, to me, they're mining every DC character they can. To Sci-Fi is probably a pretty good vehicle for Lobo. I doubt he would be a CW show. It'd be kind of interesting to see what direction they would go in, because it's not like every Lobo story was terrible. He just got overexposed. So it just would really depend on what they were gonna show, or what direction they were gonna go in. Like, are they gonna do like a adaptation of the Lobo's paramilitary Christmas special, where the Easter Bunny hires him to kill Santa Claus? Okay. Now I really want them to adapt that.
Now, Lobo is described as a foul-mouthed, dangerous, irascible, intergalactic bounty hunter. For the comic book aficionados, he first appeared in Omega Men #3 back in 1983, and the show, as I said, will be executive produced and written by Krypton showrunner Cameron Welsh. And yes, Emmett J. Scanlon will be the actor, who's the same actor.
I remember back in the 90s, Omega Men #3 was a hot book that could fetch more, like $20-$30, depending on the price guide. So I don't think it's, well, maybe it's time to sell my Omega Men collection, is I guess what I'm saying there. Okay, I'll think about that after the show.
So that's a new Lobo series. Don't know any details about when it will start or anything like that as yet, but interesting spin-off, considering that we hadn't really even seen anybody's reaction to Lobo yet before they announced this. So I guess they knew what they wanted and they ran with it. Yeah.
I mean, this was probably in their hip pocket the entire time.
Yeah.
And frankly, given the current comic book TV and movie landscape with Deadpool and Harley Quinn being so popular, it makes sense to me that they would want to put Lobo, who's kind of the progenitor of those characters, into his own show as soon as possible.
Yep, and really, this is the era of peripheral characters getting their run on TV shows and movies. I wrote in my most recent Big Blue Report, our free Superman homepage newsletter, which, by the way, just reached its 18th year.
Wow.
Yes, long running newsletter. That we are really in the era of Titans. We've got Batwoman. We've got the Doom Patrol. We've got all these different characters getting their own TV shows or movies. And now Lobo added to the list.
Yeah, the Justin in the chat points out that there has been an adaptation of the Lobo's Paramilitary Christmas Special. It was a student film that was produced. I'm going to screw up the name of the actor. His name is Andrew. I think it's Bjarnski. He was in Batman Returns. He was Max Schreck's kid, Christopher Walken's son in that movie. He was in a bunch of football movies in the 90s. And he was on an episode. Remember the episode of Lois and Clark where they go into virtual reality?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy assumes that kind of... Yeah, that dude.
Okay.
The guy in the virtual reality. So I knew I could bring it back to Superman. Yeah, he played Lobo, and it was pretty dead on from what I've seen. So it's...
cool.
It has been done, but just not legit. So let me put it to you that way.
I like Mike's comment in the comments. He's saying that you are the only person he knows with an Omega Man collection.
Yeah, Omega Man is not one of those series. I mean, it was popular for a little while, but it was a DC Direct, what they would call in the 80s a Baxter series, because it was printed on a certain type of paper. So it was direct to comic shops. It never went to newsstands, so it had a smaller distribution. And really, it lasted like almost 40 issues. But it's just one of those things that kind of petered out after a while. But yeah, Lobo was created by Keith Giffen as a kind of parody of Wolverine, and it just went. It just took off, especially when he joined this. It's an acronym. It's L.E.G.I.O.N, and he was kind of in there with Vril Dox and Largand and all them, and then he got his own series eventually in the 90s.
Venkman asks, does Lobo predate Deadpool?
Yes, by a stretch, because Deadpool's first appearance was New Mutants number 98, which if you have a copy of that in your comic collection, sell it, because I got a pretty good bit of money for mine. And Lobo was like 83, 84. So, he predated... this is the thing that I like to point out. Deadpool was not popular at first, and anyone telling you that is a liar. I know this isn't a Deadpool podcast or video show, but Deadpool was he was a ripoff of Deathstroke the Terminator. He was a character created by Rob Liefeld because he had an easy costume to draw. And it was only in the late 90s when Joe Kelly, who would eventually go on to write Action Comics, started writing the Solo series that he started to take off. And then it just kind of blew up from there. But Deadpool was not what you would call a popular character. That is a fairly recent phenomenon.
Yeah. All right. Also, John in the comments is asking, do you think we might see Nightwing and Flamebird, the Kryptonian versions, on this Krypton TV series?
You know, if they're going to do a third series and you want to do a pseudo-Batman thing, why not? Seriously. I mean, that actually, having Segel have to deal with, like, a Batman character would be kind of cool, actually. Or if Adam Strange and Segel have to assume the identities of Nightwing and Flame.
That might be cool. We might throw the idea down to Cameron Welsh, who I know follows the Superman homepage on Twitter. So we'll wait and see what happens there. All right.
He will. Yeah.
He'll do it.
You've got to tag me into that because I want to watch him lose his mind over the concept of playing Nightwing.
All right. Looking at the Supergirl TV series, we now know that the complete 4th season is coming. It will be on shelves September 17th. So look for the Blu-ray and DVD available September 17th. Now, all in addition to all 22 episodes from season 4, the DVD and Blu-rays will also contain the DC crossover featurette, the show's 2018 Comic-Con panel, deleted scenes, and a gag reel, which is always fun. But all 3 DC crossover Elseworlds episode will only be available on the Blu-ray set. So they are available to order now through the Superman homepage website, and make sure you do that if you are a fan of Supergirl. There is the Blu-ray cover and a 3D version of that cover, as in the photo, available, and a pretty cool cover for the complete 4th season of Supergirl on Blu-ray.
I like the idea of having a variant cover. It feels very DC right now.
So I know there's a lot of people who aren't big fans of the show, or that the show has split the fandom, and that there are people who love it, and then there are people who think it's propaganda, and there are people who think it's just a political machine. But I quite enjoyed season 4 of Supergirl. You know, kind of putting that thing to those political messages to the side, if you will. I thought it was a well-constructed season because we kept thinking it was just going to be the whole Red Daughter thing, and then that kind of prolonged that and only put it towards the very end of the season with the whole Lex Luthor thing, and I thought John Cryer as Lex was a great casting decision.
Yeah, I love the fact that they played the long game and it actually paid off. Because, in all honesty, it could have gone off the rails, but the fact that they just kept with it and didn't kind of blow the ultimate reveal, I thought it was played very nicely. It was just, I still hold that it's the strongest season thus far.
There you go. Now, looking ahead to Supergirl Season 5, we now know that it will premiere on Sunday, October 6th. Now, here's the catch. Supergirl Season 5 moves to 9 p.m. It was at 8 p.m., but now Batwoman, the new TV series, will be at 8 p.m., pushing Supergirl an hour later. So, Supergirl shifts back an hour, and production on this new season of Supergirl is scheduled to begin in a few weeks, with many speculating that the show will run for 22 episodes in Season 5.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting because they hinted at Leviathan at the end of the season. So, you know, that's probably going to be the overarching villain of the year. But I think it's how they factor in the crisis stuff. I think is going to be the more interesting stuff.
So that's Supergirl Season 5 beginning Sunday, October 6th. So mark that in your calendar. And elsewhere on the TV side of things, well, the digital streaming side of things, we now know that obviously Titans is coming. I saw a photo today which you'll be able to see up on the Superman homepage website in about an hour from now, in which we see our first photo of the actor playing Superboy in the Superboy costume. But before we get there, we now know that Natalie Gumides has been cast as Mercy Graves for Season 2 of Titans. Yes, Mercy Graves is coming to Season 2 of Titans. Here is the photo of the actress who will be playing her. And this was reported by Deadline, and if you're not sure if she looks familiar to you, she played Ashley in the Doctor Who Christmas special, this actress. And the character of Mercy Graves is described as ruthless, cunning, right hand and bodyguard to the notorious Lex Luthor, serving her boss with unquestioned loyalty. Her connection to the Luthors runs deep, as Mercy has been a friend of the family and in Lex's life since they were young. And if you're wondering about Mercy Graves, yes, she first appeared in the 1996 Superman the Animated Series, and then a couple of years later made her debut in an issue of Detective Comics. So that is Mercy Graves. What do you think?
So, how fast are they going to kill her?
Like in Batman v Superman?
And on Supergirl.
Yes.
They killed her in like the first couple of episodes of that show. It's just like, why? I'm kind of hoping she kind of sticks around for the entire season. I'm a little worried about her, actually.
So we could always find out from Natalie Gumides just how long her contract lasts for.
Yeah, it's just like, so how many episodes are you in for, Natalie? Is it one? Okay, then we're pretty sure. No, if they're going to put that much effort into the backstory, I'm assuming, they've got to wrap up the Trigon thing before they head into Superboy. I'm assuming, though that costume is pretty accurate. But how can you screw up a T-shirt and a pair of jeans? So that. Maybe I'm being snarky today.
Just a little. So, sorry, I was going to say Ashley, but Mercy Graves appearing in the second season of Titans, along with Superboy and Krypto. And really, with Mercy Graves in there, can Lex Luthor be far behind?
Well, they've cast Bruce Wayne, so really anything is possible at this point. The fact that Superman ended up on Supergirl, and that they cast a Bruce Wayne for this show literally leads me to believe that at this point we're not in that era anymore where it's out of the realm of possibility that we would see somebody. I'd be a little annoyed because I'm tired of Lex getting kind of co-opted by the rest of the DC universe, just because Superman doesn't have a huge rogues gallery as compared to some of the other characters like Batman or Flash. But having said that, if they're going to do it, my mind was kind of changed on Titans. Not saying that I'm going to love the second season, but I am at least going to watch it as it happens. So.
Now, also on the DC Universe digital streaming service, Young Justice Outsiders will return with new episodes July 2nd. So a couple of weeks away. All new episodes will be available every Tuesday throughout July and August. So it's a new way of watching the show. Instead of just having them available whenever, the new episodes will be released on Tuesdays on the DC Universe service throughout July and August, starting on July 2nd. And they released this promo video to promote these new episodes of Young Justice Outsiders, now that the second half of this third season is ready to watch.
Oh man, this could be it! Geoforce coming your way!
Gotcha covered! Ice, look out!
Got you covered!
You are long overdue for discipline.
Consider it covered!
Don't I've got you covered.
So there you have it. New episodes of Young Justice Outsiders starting July 2nd on the DC Universe service.
I really like the fact that the DC Universe service does things weekly, as opposed to like Netflix dropping like all 10 to 13 episodes of a series all at once. I really feel like it gives it that sense of, you know, you're still not on a network, but it's still kind of appointment television.
Yeah.
So you're not like watching everything and it's over. You know, it takes a while to get to the end of it.
And I think it does the show more of a service amongst the fans, because then you can spend that week discussing it and chatting with it and not getting spoiled, and it just gives it more of a life where when you, like you said, you dump it at once, everybody just watches it, binge watches it, and then it's kind of discussed and over and done with within a split second.
Yeah, I think, you know, the way we talk about shows has changed significantly, but, you know, as going back even as far as like Smallville, like that new episode would hit and suddenly everybody's on the here's dating us on the message boards, you know, talking about it and kind of geeking out about it. So I think it'll give the series some longevity, because if you don't want to watch the whole thing, you don't have to. It's not something you're going to be forced into doing. But if you want to have that kind of fan experience, you know, I was talking about this with a friend who watched the first and second seasons of Young Justice as they happened, and she remembered, you know, you would watch the episode and then immediately jump on Tumblr or on Reddit or, you know, all the other places where people were talking about it, and, you know, everyone was really excited. And I think, you know, that's not really how I consume television anymore, but I do remember a time when that was the exciting thing to do. So I'm a little worried about the DC Universe because of all the rumblings about what's going to happen. Is it going to get swallowed into a larger, like, Warner Brothers streaming service? If they're smart, they'll just have it as an offshoot or as a separate offering. Because in all honesty, I think you can do pretty well with a dedicated, like, DC Universe. What I'm kind of worried about is that they're going to have like a DC Universe app and then a CW app, and then you would have to get the CW app to get those shows, but then you have to pay for the other app, you know, the other service to get the rest of it. It's just like, right now it seems like they're in a pretty good position to have everything there.
Interesting. Justin asks, whatever happened to Saturday morning cartoons? Well, I mean, now cartoons are 24/7. You've got dedicated channels like Cartoon Network that are just always there to watch. Yeah, it's a thing of the past, waking up Saturday mornings to catch cartoons, because that was the time frame that kids woke up on, you know, on a non-school day to watch their programs.
Yeah, it's a combination of, in the 90s, of Nickelodeon and then eventually Cartoon Network coming along. But it was also NBC started running shows like Saved by the Bell on Saturday mornings. And you had like this whole like offshoot of those types of like teenage oriented shows that replaced the cartoons. And, you know, animation, let's face it, you know, I think people who grew up with Saturday morning cartoons have this fond memory of it. I want to go back and watch those. Most of them are pretty bad. You know,
the animation was horrible.
There's some that are kind of fine, but, you know, it's just like the fact that at one point NBC was running like 90 straight minutes of the Smurfs tells you that there was kind of a drought after a while of those shows.
Yeah, and it is interesting because gone are the days where, you know, you turn on the TV and you knew between this hour and this hour it's all PG rated, you know, or G rated, and then you got to another hour, and then you got to like 8:30 p.m. and that's when it got to mature audiences. But now you got, as a parent or as an adult with kids, you've just got to be so careful what channel you're putting things on at any time of the day, because any channel can have any type of show. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is, especially if it's an explicit show that just happens to be that's the channel that it's on.
Yeah, even cable. Like when I was growing up, we always had HBO as a channel. My mother loved movies, so in our cable package, whatever we had, we always had HBO. And there was a time where HBO would not show an R-rated movie before 8 o'clock, or whatever R-rated is in Australia. I know there's like there's. Do you have the certificates or?
Yeah, we start with G, which is just anybody. PG, which is parental guidance. And then we go to M, which is mature. Then we have MA, which is 15 plus, and then we have R-rated, which is like 18 plus, or explicit.
So it was really weird when we got HBO like a year or two back free with the cable package we got, and there was like R-rated movies on in the middle of the afternoon, and my first reaction was, wow, that was weird. My second reaction was, wow, when I was 15, this would have been awesome.
Indeed. Yeah, it's just when the good shows came on, it was time to go to bed as a kid. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. We're already well over the halfway mark, and then we're going to come back and talk about comic books. And there's a fair bit to get through comics. So bear with us as we push through these commercials and a few messages. And we're back to talk comics right after this.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Balmer, the voice of Superman and Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
Just try one. If you don't like it, it's easy to give up.
Uh-oh, nicotine. I'd better move fast. Up and away!
Go on, kid, go on.
Superman, is it hard to give up smoking, or is it easy like nicotine says?
You no good windbag, nicotine.
No, Superman. Leave me one. Please, I need one. Just...
That's how hard it is. And that's why I never say yes to a cigarette.
And we're back on WGBS TV Live, where we're going to get into the topic of comic books. And this past week, we saw the House of L Part 6 in Superman number 12, which was also in Supergirl number 31, a similar storyline where Supergirl's side of the equation came into things. Are you up on these books?
Yes, absolutely. I was really excited to get to them. I'm now making it a habit of doing the preview books that we get so that I can watch them for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thoroughly impressed with both of them. It was actually just a really good week for Superman books between these two and Event Leviathan. But it's interesting that you could have read, like, you didn't have to read Superman to understand what was going on in Supergirl, and vice versa. But I liked how they came together for like a couple different moments and gave you a real sense of the reunion of the House of L. And I don't know about you, this is like the first time in a long time that I felt like this is a family. Like these people love each other. They are connected by blood, or in Krypto's case, he's part of the family. I'm a firm believer that fur children are children just as much as regular kids. But no, seeing them come together, talk, Kara and John interacting was fantastic. Just everything about both of them, I was just like, okay, this was great. They come together for this, and then they go back onto their own separate areas. And it's not like 10 years ago where they were in their separate areas because their big move was to have them not get along. So I was extremely impressed with both issues.
Yeah, same. And you really did have to read them both, because one kind of filled in some of the gaps in the other. There wasn't too much that contradicted between them, but it was great to kind of see them all come together, to see Krypto react to John, so being so much older, sniffing him and realizing that he is who he is. It was interesting to the use of super speed with Superman and Zod having that conversation, and working out a plan between them. That was in the there was some really nifty moments in this.
Yeah, Bendis, kind of hinted at the fact that something's going on with Zod. And I, normally, like, if you would have caught me, like, 5 years ago, I would have said trying to make the bad guy and the good guy get along would have been terrible. But I really like that there's, like, a lot of intrigue involving all the different factions. You have Jor-El, you have Zod, and you have Rogol Zar and his merry band of Phantom Zone pranksters. And it's really cool watching how all of these, these separate elements that seem... It's kind of like Supergirl in the last season, where we've had all these pieces out there, and now they're finally coming together, and it's really satisfying. And this is I've been championing, I guess that's how you say that, Bendis from the beginning. This is why. Because this man knows how to play a long game with stories. A lot of people may argue with that, but I have found most of the time when he is on his game, these long form stories end up being really satisfying and have a lot of rereadability.
Indeed. And then you move on to Event Leviathan #1, which you also mentioned. And while there is no Superman in this, because Lois mentions the fact that he's off in space doing this family thing that we just spoke about, Lois is very heavily involved. It's very much Batman, Lois, and Green Arrow. And then the question kind of comes in towards the end there. An intriguing comic book. It was just pretty much set in one place, but the conversations and the banter between them and the way they kind of play off each other, it really had me kind of going, I'm in on this.
Yeah, and again, that's a Bendis trait, is that he, this event, and they, I love they call it the Event Horizon. That just, or the Event Leviathan. Like we're not even hiding what this is. But the fact that it took place mostly in that one building and kind of set everything, got the series proper. We've had all the prologue out of the way. But the fact is that Bendis is good with dialogue.
Yeah.
I really just love the way, when it's not like Ultimate Spider-Man where it's like teenagers talking like, yeah, really? No, really? But you have that kind of noir detective, fast-paced banter between the characters. He's got Lois's voice down. He's got Batman's voice down, but I don't think anybody's really surprised by that. The fact that they're bringing in the question, the fact that Green Arrow is part of this, Plastic Man is going to be a big part of this.
Well, he's a detective.
Yeah, kind of more elongated man, but he really wanted to. But according to Word Balloon, he really wanted to bring Plastic Man in. I just think the idea behind this series is that Dan DiDio looked at the DC universe and wept. That's a terrible joke. But he looked at the DC universe and realized that over the past 2 decades, they have created all of these organizations. You have Star Labs, you have DEO. In the New 52, they created Argus. And I kind of got to agree that after a while, you can pare those down. So the idea that this series is basically breaking all of that so that they can build it up into a more cohesive idea of what a secret government organization in the DC universe means, it says to me, it's kind of like Doomsday Clock number 10, where it says to me that they're actually wanting to fix some of the real problems they have in the DCU. And they're doing it in a way, this is not as Bendis said in a couple different interviews, this isn't a big summer blockbuster. This isn't like, aliens have invaded and now we're fighting back. This is political intrigue, and this is the Winter Soldier, to put it in Marvel movie terms. This is the Winter Soldier of events, where it's kind of insular, but you're really into it.
Yeah. And if you're not picking it up, I really recommend this first issue of Event Leviathan. It really sucks you in, and there's a lot of intrigue there, as you said. It's a mystery, and it's it's at the core of what's happening at the DC universe right now because of all these, the DEO and Argus and all these kind of underworld, organizations having been taken down and destroyed, and now Leviathan, whoever it is the big threat, and it's just really interesting to see them trying to figure out who it is and how this is all going to play out. And having Lois heavily involved makes it definitely, it's right in the middle of a Superman universe.
And that's the thing, is that when I got finished with the issue, I'm like, is Superman even going to be a part of this? And then I was like, you know what? One, Superman's got a lot of play recently, so it's not like 5-6 years ago when I would just be annoyed by this. Like, he was kept out of everything. He really wasn't a part of, like, what was that, Forever Evil.
Yeah.
He was completely changed for Flashpoint. I mean, all the characters were changed for Flashpoint, but I don't think he was really changed for the better. So the fact that they have decided, since this is more of a low-key event, then yeah, you would have Lois be the character. And I like that, because, like you said, the super characters are represented. This isn't a Superman comes in and saves the day type of story until the very end.
Yeah, indeed. All right, well, we look ahead to this week, and there are just the 2 comic books, but one of them is a fairly big deal. Let's look at what we have this week. And we have Justice League number 26 out this week, and that is available in a variant cover, which is a pretty cool one indeed. And then, as I mentioned, the kind of the big one is Superman Year 1 number 1, the John Romita Jr. and Frank Miller 3-issue miniseries, supersized. And this is the Frank Miller variant cover that this first issue is available in. And there's been a number of previews available on this first issue. And at the Superman homepage, we have 5 pages available, which I'm showing you right now. And this book is very much an origin story, but it's a different take on the origin story. It says that it's the defining moments for Superman, or Clark Kent if you like, in his upbringing, the relationships that he has and forms that make him who he is. While I'm not a big fan of JR's artwork, and I know a lot of people aren't big fans of Frank Miller writing Superman, I guess this is one that we'll be checking out for one reason or another.
It's so good.
Okay.
It is so, like, you would, like, I wish I would have bet myself $50 that I would have hated this thing so that I could collect on it. There is one scene that I had a problem with. But
now people are going to say, how the hell do you know all this, Michael? We should reiterate here at the beginning that, yes, as the Superman homepage, we do get advanced previews for our reviewing process. So while Michael's not giving away any spoilers here, this comic book is out Wednesday, so tomorrow for you guys. Continue.
And frankly, I think DC would be okay with me going, no, you really need to buy this. Yes. In all honesty. But no, this is my hot take. This is your Twitter soundbite. Better origin than Man of Steel, the movie. much better origin. So good. One scene that I had a serious problem with, but it didn't ruin the book for me. If you were worried because this was Frank Miller, I can understand that, because I was too. But I think this is going to surprise people.
Okay. So there you go. You heard it from Michael here. Superman Year One by Frank Miller with art by John Romita Jr. Available in print and digital tomorrow, June 19th. Go read it. Go get it, because you've got the stamp of approval from Michael Bailey himself.
For whatever that's worth. I mean, that and $2 will get you a cup of coffee in like New York City. So.
All right, well, let's have a look at this kind of promo thing that they put together for this, which was interesting. I don't really see promo videos for a comic book, but this is what DC put together to promote this 3-issue series. So there you have it. How does Clark get his head shaven?
Maybe the hair isn't as invulnerable in this. I'm kind of intrigued about how that's going to play out. But now I'm not as nervous as I was.
Okay.
So we've gotten to the point where we've gone through like 10 different takes on the origin over the past 10 years. So this doesn't feel as weird as like it did, some time back.
Okay.
Like, as you had like Secret Origin, and then Earth 1, and then Man of Steel, and then the New 52.
That's right.
And it's just like, there's all these things on top of each other. So at this point, it's just like, it's a Black Label thing, which they did not do anything truly adult.
Okay.
As in terms of like, the whole Batman controversy.
There you go. And quickly, the solicitations were released this week for September, and some interesting things in there, including a Lex Luthor Year of the Villain special, which is coming out in September, and Legion of Superheroes Millennium #1, which will lead into a new Legion of Superheroes ongoing series from Bendis.
I'm looking forward to that. I really am. They've been hinting at the Legion. It's coming out of Superman, which is just appropriate. So I think DC's really heating up. It's kind of the promise of rebirth, I think, is finally coming true.
So there you have it. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's program. And before we do sign off, I'd like to thank everyone for watching tonight's episode of WGBS TV Live. And once again, thank all those who were in the comments in the YouTube channel and participating in the show. We appreciate your support. And a big thank you to you, my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Thank you, Michael.
Pleasure as always, Steve. And Justin, no, I am not asking for another reboot. Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
And a huge thank you to our sponsor and patron, Douglas Meacham. And remember, if you want to sponsor the Superman homepage and support everything we do at the website, then please visit us on patreon.com/Superman homepage, where you too can be a sponsor for as little as $3. Now, the complete 1-hour video of tonight's show will remain available on the Superman homepage website and our YouTube channel. Perhaps you missed part of the show or tuned in late. You can watch the whole thing in full on our website and YouTube for the ongoing future. Now, we'll be back next week on Tuesday, June 25th at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time for another edition of WGBS TV Live. We look forward to talking with you then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself and Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching WGBS TV Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.